Okay, hello everybody. We are going to get started. It is the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining us today for AAC, Putting Aided Language Input into Practice. My name is Sarah Waldman. I am a speech language pathologist, and I'm also the assistive technology consultant for the South Florida area of Saltillo. So we'll go ahead and just discuss some housekeeping information first. I'm sure everybody by now is familiar with some virtual platforms, but just to make sure, I wanted to let you know that everybody is muted just to avoid background noise. If you do need to unmute yourself for any reason, that's where you can do it, but you're also welcome to type questions into the chat window. I have Courtney here. She's also a consultant for Saltillo, and she's going to be monitoring the chat window and answering questions or letting me know about questions. This is where you can either expand or collapse the control panel if it's in a place that you do not want to see it or need it in view. Just go ahead and touch that arrow. We have quite a few materials that go along with this training, and they're wonderful materials. You can find them here in the materials section. They're PDFs. You can just download them. Toward the end, you'll see me doing some modeling with some of the low-tech boards. The ones that I'll be using will be here, as well as some other nice resources. Okay, those of you that are doing this training for ASHA CE and ASHA CEU, you do need to submit the form within 15 days and include today's training date. There are instructions on the form that's in the materials section, but I do want you to be aware that you must stay online for the entire hour in order to get the CEU credit. Some other things just to make sure you know, this presentation does exclusively cover Saltillo products and applications. I am a financial employee of Saltillo and non-financial of ASHA. So this is me and my little family. I have been an SLP for 9 years. I think it's just good to kind of see a face to go along with the voice. I've only been a consultant for Saltillo for 2 years, but AAC has kind of always been my niche within the field even before that. And so I love to be able to help educate and go over some of these great AAC strategies with all of you. I am bilingual, and just some fun facts. I like to enjoy spending time with my family. I have 2 little kiddos, traveling, maybe not so much right now, and reading. Okay, so since you know a little bit about me, I would love to know who I'm talking to today and who the audience I have here with me is. So we are going to run a little poll to see who you are, and if you can go ahead and just select which profession you are, or if you're a parent. We would love to know the audience. Okay. Give it another minute or so. Okay, perfect. Okay, so over the next hour, we are going to be talking about aided language input. and what that is and how it can be used. We're going to talk about your role as communication partners, the characteristics that we often see in communication partners, the roles that you play and responsibilities to help your clients or students. We're going to talk about shared reading as a vehicle for teaching language through aided language input. And then we'll do a little bit of putting it into practice. I'll demonstrate some of that. If you did have the low-tech boards printed out ahead of time or you have any, you can go ahead and do that along with me as well. Okay, so one of the most effective strategies to teach someone how to use AAC is to provide aided language input on their method of AAC. So this is a quote from a parent, and they said that modeling the device has been very helpful, using it for fun activities or games, touching my turn or your turn, and picking words, reading a book. It's so very fun. Even the little brother uses it to say small phrases, so it doesn't make him feel like he's any different. We use it to say hi or do you want to play with neighbors, and they all think it's the neatest tool and want to check it out too. So that's really a great quote to see the success of this strategy. And so when I'm talking about aided language input, it is a research-based strategy. And the idea of it is that the communication partner is highlighting or touching symbols on their system as they interact verbally with that person who uses a device. And the end goal is to teach language. So you may have heard this called other things. Aided language stimulation is another name for it. A lot of times we just say modeling, augmented language, partner augmented input. These are all the same things. So if you hear me say modeling, I'm still talking about aided language input. There's just a couple different names out there for the same strategy. This is a really cute YouTube video that I'm going to play. It's only about 2 minutes long. Chris Bugay, who is an SLP, created it. It's on YouTube. It is just a really fantastic little video that I often share with parents because it's very easy to understand and a good way for them to see this idea of modeling. So I'm going to play this for you now. Okay, so you see that that was a very cute, easy to understand video about modeling, and it shows this whole idea, this triple T of talking and touching the system in order to teach it. So you're not necessarily modeling every single word that comes out of your mouth. That would be a lot to do, but just picking, one or two words within what you're already saying to that individual verbally, and you're touching their device with that word at the same exact time. So it's this idea that you as the communication partner are using the same modality that we're expecting them to use in order to teach them to communicate with it. And if you think about natural language development, it pretty much makes sense, because if you think about kids that are learning language, we speak to them verbally for the whole first, year or two of their lives. We're just doing, and even after that, we're doing tons of just modeling words. I mean, I can say, because I have an 11-month-old right now, I'm constantly just modeling different words for him. He's not saying them yet, but I'm just, oh, it's time to get out of the bath. It's all done. You don't want your bottle anymore? Your bottle's all done. Okay, we're going to stop playing with toys now. It's all done. And I'm just providing all these verbal models because my goal is for him to repeat that eventually. And, communication and language occurs that way. And so with these kids using a device, we should be also providing as many models as we can, but using the modality that they're expected to use on their device. And so the kids that are hearing this, verbal model, and that's how they acquire language, they're doing it all day long through constant interaction with different people, right? Their parents, siblings, peers, teachers, therapists, everybody around them is constantly interacting with them. And so that repetition is there, but with variety. So that's really important when we're teaching our kids using devices as well. So I'm going to spit out some research and facts just to kind of help hit home this idea as well. So 4,000 to 6,000, that is the number of words that a typical developing child will hear per day. Do you think that this is as many words as we are modeling on a child's device for them? Are we getting anywhere near that per day when we're touching their device and using this strategy of modeling? Probably not, right? Probably not even anywhere close to that. 500 is the number of times that a child will hear a first word before they say it. So again, we might be modeling constantly different words to the child. Oh, look, there's an airplane. You have a cookie. It's yummy. Oh, you want to make the toy go? And they may hear that word go 500 times throughout the, first year or two of their lives before they repeat it back to us. And then as far as somebody using a device, research has shown that 50 to 150 is the number of times that a word may have to be modeled on their device to them before they actually start using it independently. So that's a really, really important thing to keep in mind, because a lot of times we just expect that they're going to pick up on the device very quickly. And so they may need as many as 50 to 150 models from us touching a word on their device before they're going to spontaneously and independently do it themselves. So again, we will immerse a typical child in language for an entire year before we expect them to say a word, right? Typical development tells us that usually kids start saying their first word around the age of 1. But yet we get these devices for kids, or we put them in front of them, and maybe not kids, also adults, and we just often expect that they're going to immediately just catch on to it and start using it right away. And so we have to really be cognizant of these the research and these facts that tell us that we need to be providing many, many more models before we may see them using it. Okay, so 36,500. That is the number of hours that a typical 9 to 12-year-old has been exposed to and immersed in oral language. So if a child is getting therapy twice a week for 30 minutes, it would take them 701 years to get the same amount of immersion of language on their device as the typical child. Okay, so we really have to remember all of these facts when we set expectations for ourselves and for these children, and that it is going to take time and it is going to take a lot of repetition of this strategy modeling. So that's where we're going to see the success, is if we do a lot of repetition and a lot of modeling. So I'm going to play a video for you now of a clinician who does a really nice job modeling not only what she is saying, but she also does some modeling of what the device user could say. So.
Thank you. You told me it was okay if I turned on my camera on my iPad. So on my iPad, I turned on my camera. Okay? Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Kendall, you told me, you said you were tired today, huh?
I'm tired.
I wonder why. I have a question. Why are you feeling tired?
I'm tired.
Why are you tired?
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder why you're tired. Let me see. Are you tired because you had too much driving? Was there too much driving today? You drove a lot. So much. You had a big drive to get over here, huh? That was a long drive, right? That's so funny. It took a lot of time. Look at here. It took a lot of time to get here, huh? You had to wake up early this morning, huh? Yeah. It took a lot of time. Yeah. You had to get up early in the morning this morning. Yeah. Yeah. So you had to wake up and get out of bed. Yeah. You had no more sleeping, huh? No, that's not good. Don't get to sleep. Don't. You're funny. Don't sleep. Poor Kendall. No sleeping this morning. Look, let's see. Morning, don't sleep. Poor Kendall. So sorry. So, oh man, you know what happened? Then your mom had to drive all the way to Helena's house. She had to drive to Helena's home. And she had to get you. Get you. And then drive some more to
Dynamic therapy. Mom drive to Helen home. Get you drive more dynamic therapy.
That was a lot this morning. That was a lot. And that's why you feeling tired.
Feel.
Words are tired. Really tired. Not enough sleep. Man, no, not enough sleep. I guess you could take a nap today. Go to bed. I wonder what time you got up. You got up early.
Eat and sleep, okay?
Is that what you're going to do when you leave here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I love this video because it also shows that you could be modeling some words that maybe that child or adult is not yet using, and that's okay, because it's still going to be helpful for them to see new words, where they are. They're hearing that auditory output of the new word. And I also like this video because you also see that it doesn't have to be some perfectly grammatically correct sentence. The idea is communication and language, and you could shape the grammar later on, but I think it shows that very nicely. So why should we use this strategy of modeling or aided language input? Well, it supports natural development of language skills, so it makes sense. It also helps us kind of select and choose our words better, so that we know what we're going to focus on. And it will help us slow down. A lot of these individuals might need more time for processing or scanning, and so it is good for them as well, because it slows everybody down and kind of helps with the attention. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about communication partners. So a communication partner is anybody who interacts with that individual that uses the device. So teachers, paras, parents, siblings, people out in the community, anybody that's having an interaction with that device user is considered a communication partner. And the role of communication partners is so important. Research has found that 8 of 10 most frequently reported reasons for device abandonment was directly related to poor partner training or support issues. So the poll actually showed that most of us are either speech therapists, teachers, or AT specialists that are on the call today. So you guys know firsthand what a process it is to get a device for somebody, right? You do a trial, you take data, you write the report, you wait, or you have to wait for funding or approvals or for the right device to be in your inventory. And so for us to hear that the device sits on their shelf or stays in their backpack or, is on the kitchen counter half of the day, this is what I'm talking about with this device abandonment. And so when research tells us that it's pretty much occurring mostly because of poor partner training and support issues, that is really good information because it helps us know that our role is more important than ever, and so crucial to help achieve positive outcomes for these individuals using devices. And so if we can change our behaviors a little bit, we can help to avoid that abandonment and not use of the device. So research has shown that some common traits of many communication partners are these that you see here. We're going to go through them. But oftentimes we may not even realize it, but we're taking most of the turns in the conversation. We also oftentimes ask mostly yes or no questions without realizing that. We might say, oh, do you want to play with bubbles today? And so because it's a yes or no question, there's just not a good opportunity for language to be used. We might be interrupting the device user frequently. We also might be getting a little bogged down on the technology side of the device. And so we can talk about some strategies to avoid that. And then chances are not providing as many opportunities as we could be for them to use their device. And then what we also know about our users that use devices is that Oftentimes they're more passive. They have limited initiation. They may know more than they can say. They might be responding only in obligatory contexts. We probably all know those kids that will just sit there and stare straight ahead unless we require them to use their device. They might be communicating for a limited number of reasons. Maybe they're only using their device to request highly preferred things, and that's it. And then restricted grammar. So those are the traits of common communication partners, as well as traits of individuals using devices. And so if we're taking the majority of the turns and we're not providing enough opportunity, and they are passive communicators with limited initiation, we run into a little bit of a problem there. So we can change our traits and our behaviors. We have the control of that as the communication partner. And hopefully, if we can change some of those traits and behaviors that we're doing, we're going to see a change in them as well. So instead of doing those 5 traits, we can do some other strategies. And we're going to go through each one of these one by one. And I have some more nice videos as well so that you guys can feel confident with trying some of these strategies. So the first one is waiting and looking expectantly. Now, a lot of us know already the power of wait time. It's something that we're probably doing with lots of the kids that we work with. But are we waiting long enough? So the average time that I would say to wait is 10 seconds. Now, 10 seconds is actually a lot longer than you realize. And so if it means that you need to count silently in your head while you're giving that wait time to get the feel for how long 10 seconds actually is, that's totally okay. Because again, we might be chiming in or providing that gestural cue or that verbal cue too soon. A lot of times these individuals need more time to process what we asked of them. They may need time to scan the screen on their device and look for what we're asking of them. So 10 seconds, I would say, is the minimum. And then the other piece of that is the look expectantly. And so if you're giving wait time, it doesn't mean that you should be looking at your phone during that wait period or turning your back over your shoulder to look at something, on the desk or, checking the clock. You want to really be looking at them with an expectant look on your face so that they see that the wait time you're giving them is for a reason, that you're waiting on them to do something. So the video that you're going to see is a clinician that actually waits 16 seconds. And so what I like to do when I watch this video is kind of get a feel for when I might have chimed in or jumped in with a cue, and usually I would have prior to the 16 seconds. And so what you'll see is that by waiting 16 seconds, the clinician is able to have her do it independently without a cue at all.
Let's go. What would you like for me to do?
Okay, so she was having her say go in order to turn the page in the book and keep going because that was a word that they were targeting, go. And so you see that, she kind of scanned and hovered over it and kind of, was not quite doing it. And then with 16 seconds of wait time, she did. So that was really great. The other thing that we often do, again, is ask mostly yes or no questions. And this might be something that we don't even realize it. We're maybe not conscious of it, or maybe you are conscious of it, but other people who are with that child, especially now they might be at home a lot. So really passing along this strategy to the family or other communication partners with them, that if they can simply rephrase the way that they're asking questions and ask an open-ended question, they're going to allow opportunity for more language to occur. Because if we just say, do you want to blow bubbles? All that they can say is yes or no. But if we said something like, ooh, look, I have bubbles. What should we do? Now all of a sudden they could say lots of different things, right? They could say, I want bubbles. Let's play bubbles. Open, help, blow bubble. So you're really offering an opportunity to increase their language simply by the way that we phrase the question. If you're working on some commenting and all you say is, ooh, did you like that? Again, it's a closed question, so all that they really have to say is yes or no. But if we say it more of an open-ended way, ooh, what did you think about that? Then all of a sudden they could comment, to say that they liked it, don't like it, or maybe use some describing words like yucky or sticky or boring or fun. And so that would be another example of just rephrasing the way that we ask our questions. Here's another example. Did you want to be finished or do you want to be all done? Instead, we could ask it open-ended. What do you want to do? And they could either ask for more again or protest to say all done, to terminate. And this also allows them to take some control, which many of us know that we have some kiddos on our caseload, or adults especially, that want to, take that control. So this is a video of an open-ended question.
Hamburguesa con queso. Hamburguesa.
Okay, so she asked that open-ended question, what did you eat? And he was able to provide the answer. Now, if that doesn't feel like something that is natural for you, or you're unsure in specific activities how you could possibly frame your questions, we do have a great resource, Choosing Activity First. And along with specific activities that are common that you might be doing, we also provide example words that you could target, as well as a communication script, which you see here in the yellow. And so it has examples of open-ended questions that you could ask during that activity in order to foster more language. So this is definitely a great resource that you could check out. And we have other examples besides just bubbles, with different open-ended questions. Okay, active feedback is something that I definitely think is important, and we may not be doing this enough. So when I say active feedback, I'm talking about a couple different things. If the child or individual using the device has some mishits, some mistakes, and they touch the wrong button, we want to acknowledge that. We don't want to just ignore that. And so we might just give active feedback and say something like, oh, I see that you touched turn, but what I wanted you to touch was read. So you're acknowledging what they said and that you did hear them attempt to say something. And then another example is and I think a lot of us can probably relate to this, but if you do have somebody who's kind of perseverating or hitting a button over and over, or maybe they're off topic, you also want to give active feedback. So it's kind of like that kid that comes into your session or into school that day and they're just talking all about their Disney trip and all they want to do is talk about that and they're going on and on. You might say to them, hey, I really want to hear about your Disney trip, but right now I need you to finish this puzzle and then we'll talk about that. So if you have that kiddo who's just hitting, iPad, 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 or something like that on their device, you want to give active feedback and acknowledge it and say, Johnny, I hear that you want to play with your iPad, or I hear you touching iPad, but right now we need to finish the puzzle or something like that. So again, it's just acknowledging that we do hear them touching their device. And then the third way to give active feedback, which you're going to see here in this video, is if they hit the wrong thing and you're able to shape it to be appropriate as kind of like a learning opportunity, that's always great as well. So in this example, she's asking her to comment and say something like, oh, did he do a good job? And the little girl accidentally presses congratulations. So she uses that as a learning opportunity to shape it, and she gives active feedback. So I'll play that for you now.
You can say, I love that. Awesome. Yeah, tadpole in the egg, right? What do you think? Do you think that that's awesome? It was cool?
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. We should say that's a frog because he laid a bunch of babies. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
So she was, again, looking for her to give like a comment. Awesome. I love that. And she hit congratulations. So she provided that active feedback. And in this example, she was able to shape it for the situation. And then you do see that she has her, she independently touched go to have her keep going in the book. So that's nice to see as well. Okay, the next strategy. So instead of getting kind of bogged down and really just kind of focusing on the technology of the device, we want to make sure that we are focusing on that individual. And so I do get some feedback sometimes about individuals that are reluctant to use their device, or maybe they're using it just for some functions and they're not really expanding it for other functions. And so I think we really need to take a step back when that happens and focus on that individual and think about what are the things that they really love and enjoy, what makes them laugh, what do they like to do for fun, what makes them mad. And so if we can really increase that buy-in for them to use their device, we're going to get more out of them with it. And so, if you have any situations like that, I just had a mom actually this week telling me that her son has not been wanting to use the device at home. And so we talked about this. What makes him laugh? What is he like? And she was talking about, he's a typical teenage boy and he's into telling, he thinks it's funny when they say things like, oh, that's stinky or gross. So we talked about programming some buttons on his device, or finding, where those buttons are on the device so that they could model and use some of those words to engage him and get him to buy in with the device. And so I think that that's a really important thing, that we don't want to get too focused on, clear your message and touch the message window and combine two words and just get so focused on the technology if they're not quite ready for that. So this is a nice way to see some examples. And then naturally, if you are using those 4 strategies of wait time, looking expectantly, asking open-ended questions, providing active feedback, and really focusing on that individual, you're going to just naturally have more opportunities throughout the day for them to use their device, as well as more opportunities for you to be modeling with lots of different things that they're doing throughout their day. So when it comes to providing more opportunities to model, it is okay to kind of take a moment and think ahead or plan some words. Modeling comes natural to a lot of us, but for some of us, it may not. It may be a little overwhelming in the moment to think about what you're going to touch on the device, especially for parents. So it's okay to start small and just make a small goal for yourself that you're going to, think about their day, and okay, every time that they transition to a different room in the house, or every time that they transition to a different activity, I'm just going to press go. Okay, come on, it's time to go to the bathroom. Okay, let's go to the kitchen and eat lunch. do you want to go outside and play, or do you want to go outside and take a walk? And so maybe you're just starting small and touching the word go initially. And then as you feel more comfortable with this idea of modeling, you may start to expand on that and build on that to touch more words on the device. And then, of course, remembering this research that tells us that a lot of individuals using a device are going to need as many as 50 to 150 models from you or whoever is communicating with them before we might see them use it themselves, right? So we don't want to just expect that they're going to pick it up right away and they're going to imitate what we're modeling right away. They may need this many models from us before it becomes independent and spontaneous for them. Okay, so moving on to putting the strategy into practice. So what can you use to do this strategy of modeling? So for most of us, we're going to use their actual device, and that's totally okay and appropriate. However, if you happen to have our app, Touch Chat, it is identical to the dedicated devices as far as the vocabulary goes. So you can have that open and you could be modeling on the iPad app while they're using the device. That's an option as well. You could also print out and create a low-tech version. You have some low-tech boards here in the materials section, but you also can use Chat Editor, which I'm going to talk about next, to create, to print out pages of their boards. Also on our website, under implementation and the chat corner section, we also have a variety of different low-tech boards that you can just click and print depending on the file that your user has. And then the computer emulator software is that chat editor that I mentioned. It's completely free. It is only compatible on Windows-based computers. We're not yet compatible on Mac computers. But if you have a Windows computer, you can download that from our website. It's called Chat Editor, and it also has voice, so you can use that as a model. So when would you do this strategy of modeling? So daily routines is a really great starting point. A lot of our device users are stuck at home right now anyway, so they're really, in their daily routines more than ever. But even if they're not, and you're starting to see some kids in person or adults in person, daily routines is a great starting point. But we are going to really focus on shared reading because it's a great tool to use this modeling strategy for a variety of reasons. It's very language rich, right? Books have a lot of language in them. Oftentimes they're repetitive, so maybe there's a word that repeats throughout the book, and books are predictable for our device users. It's something that might be occurring regularly. Maybe they read a book before they go to sleep every night, or maybe they, read books obviously in the classroom or in therapy regularly. There's minimal motor skills necessary for reading, and hopefully it's fun or being made to be fun for them. So that being said, you do want to make sure that if you're using the device and the strategy of modeling, you want to try to make it as fun and engaging as you possibly can. Try to avoid the, question and answering or drills or labeling. At least in the beginning, you don't want to really be doing a lot of, what's that? What animal is this? Oh, what's he doing? What's that? Because you're, again, maybe not going to get so much buy-in and interest to use the device from the user if that's the only thing that's happening. So try to choose books that are of interest to them. Maybe they're really into vehicles, or maybe they're really into princesses, or whatever their interest is. That's always a good way to get them engaged. Books that might have repetition or words that repeat throughout the book, that's also great because you're just going to have that many more opportunities to model. And then limited text. or if it does have a lot of text, maybe kind of skipping over some of it just so that it's simplified for them. These are some resources if you're not familiar with Tar Heel Reader. They have a lot of free downloadable PowerPoint books that are nice and simple. Here we have some links for repetitive books, so books that have vocabulary that's going to repeat throughout the book. And then if you're interested in creating your own book, on the AAC Language Lab, as well as our website under Chat Corner, you can actually make your own core word books. And they have some examples already as well. Okay, so next I'm going to show you a video of a mother who is reading Polar Bear, What Do You Hear? So it's a kind of spin-off on the Brown Bear book, if you're not familiar with this book. And you're going to see that she models throughout the book. And so I'll play a chunk of this for you, and then I'll show you some more examples as well.
Here, I hear a hippopotamus snorting in my ear. Hippopotamus, what do you hear? I hear a flamingo flipping in my ear. Flamingo, what do you hear? I hear a zebra braying in my ear. Zebra, what do you hear? I hear a boa constrictor hissing in my ear. Boa constrictor, what do you hear? I hear an elephant trumpeting in my ear. Elephant, what do you hear? I hear a leopard snarling in my ear. Leopard, what do you hear? I hear a peacock milking in my ear. Peacock, what do you hear? I hear a walrus bellowing in my ear. Walrus, what do you hear? I hear a zookeeper whistling in my ear. Zookeeper, what do you hear? I hear children growling like a polar bear, roaring like a lion, snorting like a hippopotamus, fluting like a flamingo, braying like a zebra, hissing like a boa constrictor, trumpeting like an elephant, snarling like a leopard, yelping like a peacock, bellowing like a walrus. That's what I hear.
Okay, so that's a really nice video. You see that the mother only focused on the word you. So again, that idea of picking a core word, a word that we use frequently, and repeating it throughout the book. She started just modeling it herself with zero expectation from the child, right? Because that idea of modeling is really for our turn of communication. But then she was able to kind of fade her model, and the child started touching it as well. And then a couple times she prompted him. So it's a good way for you to see, the transition from a model to independent use. So what we're going to do next is, for some of you, you may be familiar, but for those of you that are not, on our Word Power 60 basic file, as well as Word Power 42 basic, we have an early books page. So right here, you could see that you go to groups, reading, and then there's a button called early books. And within that page, we have a lot of common books with the vocabulary already included for you. So here, this is an example of the Brown Bear page. And so what you could do, again, is just start small and touch one word and then maybe expand to, 2 words if you're comfortable with it, along with the video. So if you do have this printed out in front of you or a device in front of you, you're welcome to open this page up and go along with me with the video. But you're going to see that we are going to practice this. So I'm going to open my camera. Bear with me while I adjust my screen for 1 second. Okay, so hopefully you can see my board and the book, and I'm going to just touch along with the reading some of the words. Okay, so we'll go ahead and play this.
Hi, welcome to Children's Library. Today we're reading Brown Bear, What Do You See? By Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carle. Brown Bear, what do you see? This is the brown bear. Brown Bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. Blue horse, what do you see? I see a green frog looking at me. Green frog, what do you see? I see a purple cat looking at me. Purple cat, what do you see? I see a white dog looking at me.
Okay, so you see that I started out just touching C along with the book, and then I expanded it to UC at that part. So again, you don't need to be modeling and touching every single word, just honing in on 1 or 2 if you're comfortable to model along with. Okay, so some other words that can be used that aren't particular to a specific book is something like turn the page, which you see down here at the bottom. We have already on a lot of the book pages. What is a good one? Where? Like that? More? Again? Look? So maybe before you have them turn the page, if you're working on the word more, they have to tell you more for you to turn the page, something like that. And then the other thing is you don't have to use a specific page for a book. So the idea behind a lot of our vocabulary files is that they're based on core words. And so you can use a page like this, and you're going to see that all of those words that I just showed you on the previous screen are actually all right there on the home page of a core board. Because they're functional core words that we use all the time. And so I'm going to show you again with using some of these core board pages instead of a specific book page like Brown Bear. So you do have this page as well in your materials section. You're welcome to follow along. Again, you could kind of start small, pick 1 word that you would touch as you would read the book, and then expand if you feel comfortable. Okay, so I'm going to play just a minute or two so I can make sure we end on time.
Okay, let's read Brown Bear, what do you see? Brown Bear, what do you see? Look, there's the brown bear. I see a red bird looking at me. Where is that red bird? I wonder, we probably need to turn the page. Oh, there he is. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me.
Okay, so you can see that a lot of these words repeat on a core board as well, and so you don't need to feel like you need to program specific buttons that go with that book. Okay, so some things that will make it easier. Practicing first is not a bad idea if you have the time, and then again, just picking 1 or 2 words to make it basic and simple for yourself. Follow the child's lead. If they do start to initiate or try to touch themselves, absolutely let them. That's great, right? That's the end goal. Or give that wait time to see if maybe with a little wait time that they will start to imitate from your model. And then pay it forward with this strategy. A lot of us are, out there that don't know about this strategy and how effective it could be. So sharing that is going to be helpful for that individual. A couple other quick tips and tools before we finish. I mentioned Chat Editor. Again, it's free on our website. You can use this tool to adapt your books. You saw that in the video example, and it's here as well. So the symbols will match what they have on their device at the bottom. So that's something that you can do with Chat Editor. Or you could just put a little sticky note on the page yourself so that you will have a visual reminder of what word you want to target. So when you open this book, you say, oh yeah, okay, I want to hit the word on every time I see that on the page. Okay, so some other tips, again, following their lead, thinking about what interests them, using repetition but with variety. If it's a new word, define it, explain what it means. And then just honestly, if you could just start by having that device available, get it out of that backpack, get it off the kitchen counter, get it off the shelf. It's all about building habits and creating an environment that lends itself to using this strategy of modeling. Okay, so don't be afraid to make mistakes. This takes time. It's a very effective strategy, but we know now that these individuals might need as many as 50 to 150 models from us. That's okay. We want to just make sure they have enough robust language on their system so that they can use these words, and remember that it will take time. Okay, so with that, dream big, start small. I'll look and see if there's any specific questions, and hopefully you found that this was helpful and you will use some of these strategies in your practice with your device users. This is my contact info. This is our website, saltillo.com. We have a lot of great resources. Again, I mentioned our under implementation, there is a section called Chat Corner. We have so many great resources there. Some of the ones that are in your material section are there, as well as many, many others. You can also join our newsletter or follow us on social media. We always post when new things come out, when updates come out. We post when there's sales on our app and all kinds of different things. So it's a good idea if you're not already following us to do so. Also, on our YouTube channel, we just recently put videos called Core Word Connection videos. We have them in English and in Spanish, and they're really great because they show 3 ways to use a core word in the home environment. So these are really helpful for parents that are stuck at home with their kids and not sure how to get their kids to use their devices in the home environment. There's, for example, the core word open. The video is just about 2 minutes long, and it shows 3 ways that they could use the word open in their home environment. And so there's many other examples of core words, and that's on our YouTube page, Saltillo's YouTube page. And those are called core word connection videos. And so they're also great words that you could just be modeling if the child is not yet using those words independently as well. Okie dokie. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And we look forward to more trainings with you. Have a good afternoon.
There is a one question. Somebody is asking you to show slide 65 again. Yeah, you're on the way.
Got it.
And then there was one question, I don't know if you saw it, about are there any materials for parent training? I sent them to the chat corner, but I didn't know if you also wanted to address that.
Oh, I did not see that question. Let me see. Or could you repeat it? Sorry. Are there any materials for parent training? No, I also agree that I think on our website we have a lot of good resources and different recorded trainings, recorded webinars that they could watch at their leisure, depending on if they need more product training, like how to edit buttons and things like that, or if they need more implementation training. Even this is recorded on our website, so they could watch something like this as well. And then, like I said, those core word videos would be a good resource as well on the YouTube channel so that maybe they could see it in action and it will help them get ideas. Okie dokie. We're going to end the meeting. Thank you again, everybody.